Good morning.
That mute button. Happy September, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're glad you're here.
It must be September in Iowa. I dug out my sweater.
Yeah, got a turtleneck.
It's chilly this morning.
It's brisk. So anyway.
Not brisk.
It is anyway. Depends on your body temperature.
It's damp. It's kind of misting outside and raining, which we can use the rain. I mean, we're in a huge drought area where we live, but we can use the rain. But it's a little chilly this morning too. So
we hope you're warm wherever you are.
Yeah. I'm just kind of dreaming of Hawaii.
Yeah. There you go.
You know, there's rural areas in Hawaii too.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm Kim Spillers.
And I'm Frank Spillers.
And this is Stacey, our Wuka raccoon. She's our mascot who helps us welcome, understand, comfort, and appreciate ourselves and other people. She's the mascot from our book, The Be Wuka Way, The Art of Getting Along.
Which is also our curriculum and our philosophy of how we build communities, how we build businesses, how we build individuals, relationships, home-based businesses, husband and wife teams, how you can all do all that through the Wuka Way. And also we have created the Wuka pyramids, or pillars, not pyramids. It's the pillar. We have a lot of pyramids too.
Yeah, we use those too.
Okay, so we have some Wuka pillars that we have created to help communities build, and those pillars are relationships, engagement, entrepreneurship, and collaboration. And those four pillars hold up your community and to create an economic viability for your community, especially in rural areas that really have an economic opportunity. You know, 1 in 5, I just read a statistic before we came on, 1 in 5 people that are moving are really looking at a rural area. They're moving. There was a New York article I just read, and they're moving. They want to get out of the congestion, specifically in this time. People are a little bit apprehensive of living in a large area with a large amount of people. And rural areas offer space. They offer opportunities to where you're not so congested, but they offer the amenities and the accessibility to as if you're just living in an urban area. So, given where we live 50 miles from Omaha. We live 50 miles east of Omaha. But somebody in West Omaha, I can beat them to the airport. I can get to the Omaha airport
without getting a ticket
faster than they can coming across town. And all I do is go from my rural community into Omaha, right there. The airport's right there. So we're really based, if you're strategic, and you're looking for a rural place to live, this is a great way to do that, is look at where your major metropolitan areas are. And then pick a spot right in between them. We are 50 minutes from Omaha. We're an hour, 15 minutes from Des Moines.
About 75.
Don't say miles.
Yep.
We're about an hour, 15 from Des Moines. And we're, right around 2.5, 3 hours from Kansas City. So we're right in the middle of a major triangle of a metropolitan area. We can get to any place in our town. You know, on the golf course, here's my golfing day. I can go golfing. I can get there at 5 o'clock. All right, after I quit, I shut down everything. I can get to the golf course at 5 o'clock, and I walk. I drive to the golf course, but I walk the course. I walk 18 holes, and I can get done in 2.5 hours. And here's the thing: all summer long, I have never, ever had to make a tee time.
Right
now. In an urban area, you tell me that you can just walk on without getting a tee time. And boy, oh boy, here we are. And you can live here, and a spouse can go to one way, you can go to the other, meet in the middle. Great school districts. But this isn't unusual for our town. Mm-hmm. This is all across the country of how you can do rural living. And now when people are starting to choose where they want to live, instead of finding a job and then moving there, they choose to where they want to live, and then they bring their job with them, or they find a job once they get there. That's how mobile, and that's what people are doing. And so rural community solutions is all about how do we make those communities family-friendly, youth-centered places that attract people, attract home-based businesses, attract a teleworkforce, and attract entrepreneurship. And how as a community and how as a community member can you support that and build a system, an ecosystem, if you will, that will support that type of an economy. And that will grow your population, and that will help you attract the people that you want to live within your community. And so all this month of September, we are focusing on the pillar of entrepreneurship. An entrepreneurship pillar, because that is the basis of the rural economy. That is where our rural economy can grow. That is a strategic advantage of the rural economy, and that is how your community can grow its economy based upon the back of entrepreneurship. And that is the philosophy, and that is the personality that your community has to obtain. Entrepreneurship. So what is an entrepreneur?
So an entrepreneur, since that's a big word and it gets thrown around a lot, an entrepreneur is probably the easiest way to grab that is to think of your main street. If you have your square, your town square, your business district, something like that, most of those businesses, probably 99% of those businesses, are mom and pop, locally owned, people who live in your town or your county who have started a business. Their parents, their grandparents, maybe their great grandparents started a business, and that business has been passed on through the generations. We have several businesses here like that, and probably if you live in a rural area, you could name a lot of yours as well. So entrepreneurs are those people who have a passion, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today, have a passion for helping people and use their business in order to improve the community and provide a service.
And that's provide a service. And so entrepreneurs find a need and then they fill it. That's how an entrepreneur starts it. Now, here's another definition of an entrepreneur. Do you have a passion? Do you have a sideline that you do? Do you go to work and then you come home and you work on something that maybe can help you build a business? Maybe it's a network marketing operation that you do, but it's a passion. It's something you believe in that you're sharing with others, and you're helping fulfill a need of others by providing them a service or a product that they can do. Now, it doesn't have to be, an entrepreneur doesn't have to be full-time. An entrepreneur can be a part-time entrepreneur. It can be an entrepreneur that's not on Main Street, but an entrepreneur like us in your home. Mm-hmm. We have a home-based business. We have had a home-based business for, more than
15 years,
15, 20.
Something like that.
Yeah, we're pushing on 20 years of having a business in our home, not going anyplace, but working here. So my commute is down 12 stairs? Something like that. Yeah, it's just downstairs in my office, in the office. And her commute, it's about 10 steps from any place.
Yeah,
I mean,
depends on where I work. I kind of navigate different places of the house depending on what the weather's like. I might be out on the front porch. I could be in my office. I could choose the dining room table. So I mosey where I feel like that day.
So she commutes internally. She's a home-based business commuter. I've never thought of it that way, because she has offices all over the house, so
it's great to work from home because I can work outside if I want to. We have a screened-in porch, so that could be something that might appeal to you if you really like to be outdoors. You can do that and still work from home. Make your own space.
And so what entrepreneurship also, that means, and home-based businesses, that also means that your community can support a teleworkforce. Mm-hmm. Because now with the COVID going on, Businesses are looking at, they put employees at home because they didn't want them coming into the office. And they found out, all these managers, all these CEOs, all these companies, all of a sudden found out, oh, people can be productive working from home. Productive?
They can be, and they can be trusted working from home. I think there was probably a fair amount of anxiety on the part of corporates, wondering whether or not they would actually get people to be productive from home, or if they just sit around and watch TV but clock in.
And this is
that's been debunked.
Yeah, and that's been kind of that feeling for a long, long time, ever
Mhm.
since we've been trying to promote home-based business and the teleworkforce in rural America for years. And we always got pushback of, oh, they won't work at home. They'll just sit around eating bonbons with their slippers on, watching TV and The Price is Right and all that. But what they're doing is they are finding they're more productive at home, and they work less because of they're more concentrated. They can concentrate better. And so then the teleworkers are looking for better spaces. They're looking for opportunities to where they can work from home, but they're looking for a home base that has and will accommodate a teleworker. Okay. And so that's your community's opportunity. Now, entrepreneurs have within them some basics, internal basics personality. One of them, we'll just go right there, is that it's a fear. It's a fear of stepping out and saying, nobody wants what I have. Nobody would buy what I have. Why would anybody hire me as a consultant or as an expert? Because of what I don't know as much as the next person. Well, that is your biggest obstacle, is the biggest fear you have to get over. And as a quote from Marianne Williamson out of her book, it's titled "Our Deepest Fear," and just to quote just a portion of it, is our deepest fear is that we are inadequate. That our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. In other words, don't fear failure. Many people fear success. And then she goes on to say, it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? So that wraps it all up into, are you ready and willing to step out, face your fears, and put that risk in place, a controlled risk. It's not uncontrolled. It is a controlled risk to minimize the risk and step out. And that's what you need to do. And that is what an entrepreneur does. Because an entrepreneur will then start to look at, what is a need out there? When I find a need, and I can find a need, then I can offer a solution to that need. And the outcome is I solve a problem. That's what an entrepreneur is. So find a need, put a solution towards that need, and then people will buy you, pay you to help them solve that need. That's the outcome. And you build a business. But there is no product, service, solution that has ever been made out there without it first becoming a thought. So have that thought, work on your passion. And that passion is deep inside of you. And that says, here's our definition of passion. What would you do and have the most fun at, and would wake up every day, jump out of bed, excited to do it, if you didn't have to get paid? What would that be? So think about that. Write down all those things that you would do, that would love to do, And you would be doing them every day right now if you didn't have to get paid. Many people have done that, and then they found a way how to get paid for what they want to do. Now, you could have a passion of baseball, you could have a passion of sports, you could have a passion of solving problems. We have a passion of rural America. We have a passion of building rural communities. And we get up every morning and we find out, okay, what kind of solution, what's a need out there? How can we address that need as a solution to get an outcome to help grow rural America? That is our purpose, to help design family-friendly, youth-centered places that attract people, home-based businesses, a teleworkforce, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, to help them build their population and decrease poverty. That's what we do. That's our passion. That's how we do it. And we've been working more than 30 years to help rural communities and take our experience to help them do that. And so as you look at the entrepreneur and as you look at the passion of an entrepreneur, as a community and a community leader, you have to find those entrepreneurs in your community. You have to recognize what that entrepreneur is and what they're doing. And so because there are so many home-based businesses out there in your community, as a community leader, you have to go out and find them. You have to find the home-based business, because that's what we call the hidden economy. Because even if it is a sideline business, as a home-based business, as that sideline business, they are contributing to the economy of your town, to where if that sideline business and that home-based business wasn't there, your economy would be decreased. That's just as simple as that. And so as you go out and you find that home-based business and help build that home-based business up and support that infrastructure of a home-based business, then you can start to grow that economy. Because Thursday, I'm going to tell you a story about a home-based business that was so successful that it was purchased and the community kind of got sidelined a little bit because it was purchased and they didn't continue to support that philosophy. But as an entrepreneur in a home-based business, here we are in this time, in the pandemic time. And that is a obstacle for some of the businesses. That is an obstacle and an opportunity for some of the businesses too. So given our own personal experience here as a home-based business, is the community where we live, we were hit with a recession, and one of our businesses in
2007, 2008, for refreshing for dates anyway.
With the recession, so that was 8 and 9, I think, were the recession dates, but it started in 2007, if you remember right, at the end of 2007. We rode the recession.
Rode.
All the way down. It's just kind of like an escalator.
It was.
Yeah.
Escalator is good.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was there. And hopefully, because if the escalator ever stopped, we would have been stuck. We would have had to stay right there on the escalator until somebody came and fixed the escalator for us to make it keep going with us. No, not really. That's another story.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Yeah.
And we will tell you that full story somewhere during Entrepreneurship Month. But yes, we've had a couple of experiences where the issues and circumstances of the world, like we're having now with a pandemic, like we did with a recession, that those things are something that we need to factor in when thinking about being an entrepreneur. And so we will talk about ways to mitigate that, things that you can think about to stabilize and shore up your businesses. We have a brand new team that we have put into place for people on Main Street and for home-based businesses and such. So we're going to talk about all kinds of things like that to help you figure out how to reduce your risk if you're thinking about doing a home-based business or something on Main Street. We're going to help you walk through and think around all the issues that maybe haven't occurred to you yet, but people like us have been doing this for years, and maybe we have a few tips to add to the things that you need to be thinking about.
So all month long, we will be talking about entrepreneurship. We'll be talking about how you can become an entrepreneur. but also you as a community member, you as a community leader, how you support entrepreneurs and how you build an entrepreneurship ecosystem. And so as you look at how do you build that, and as you look at what has happened in your entrepreneurial community, you start to get those values. You start to get kind of that philosophy and that thinking of how do we become entrepreneurial ourselves. And your community needs to get back to entrepreneurship, because that's the way your community was built. Somebody jumped off a wagon going across the prairie. They jumped off a wagon and looked around and said, okay, I'm tired of going across this country. This is where I'm going to create my town. A town. It was one person that jumped off, might have been one family, but they jumped off that wagon, they planted their flag, and they said, this is where I want my town. And then they started recruiting people. They wrote back to where they came from, and they said, hey, you got to come out here. Look at this property. Look at this land. It's great. You just got to come out here, escape where you are, and come to the wide open spaces. And that's where then they started to grow. People invited other people, and they started to grow this community. And around the community needs, they built businesses. They saw the need, they addressed the need with a solution, and they built businesses. So they built ice houses back in those days, because you needed to build a lake, specifically in the Midwest. You would build a lake, it would freeze over in the wintertime, and then people would go out and cut through that lake, through the ice.
Think Frozen.
And they would cut the ice, and then they would put that away. And that's how people kept things cold.
No refrigerators when we're in prairie days.
Or they created broom factories, because people needed brooms. And so ice houses and broom factories were created, and that is how the economy grew. That's how your community grew. No matter how old your community is across this country, across the world, somebody had to start your community. Somebody had to have that vision of your community and how it started. But the basis of that vision, and the next step of that vision, is how do we support an economy? How do we build an economy in our rural community? And that is by entrepreneurship. That is by people starting businesses to supply the population and to contribute and to address a need with a solution. And people then would exchange money for that solution. That's an entrepreneurial economy. Now, when entrepreneurship was built in your community, it was built by entrepreneurs. So they had the entrepreneurial thought process. So your city council people, your county people, your community leaders, your church board members, everybody that had that thought process of entrepreneurial thinking. How can we address this issue with a solution that is very creative and entrepreneurial thinking? What has happened over the last 3 generations, specifically in the Midwest, because that's about how old we are, 3 to 4 generations, is that the original entrepreneur that has started your business, that entrepreneur that started the business mainly on Main Street. If you look at businesses that are over 100 years old in your community, they were started by somebody in the family, maybe way on back, and they have been around, but they were started with an entrepreneur, and that person took the major risk. That person had the entrepreneurship thinking of how do I build this business, and maybe pass that thought process on to a child. Within the family, they put together a succession plan, which communities need to look at your business also. Do you have a succession plan? What's going to happen to those businesses once the owner of the business goes away? I mean, what's going to happen to your businesses? And so that succession plan was passed on to a child within the family. And that child then inherited maybe a little bit of the entrepreneurship, because saw how the owner, the original entrepreneur, acted within that process. Very entrepreneurial, very risk-taking. And so develop some of those traits. Go back a couple of weeks to how people get their belief system, how people do what they do. Comes through what they see, what they hear, what they feel. So if that's in their environment, they catch some of that entrepreneurship. So, but a little bit less than the original entrepreneur. So then the child then passes it on to the next child. So then we are in the grandparent stage. We're in the grandchild stage of the original, the third generation down. And then maybe they didn't see the original entrepreneur. They didn't feel the entrepreneurship. They lost some of that entrepreneurship feeling. You lost that entrepreneurship feeling. That could be a song. Yeah. Okay.
We'll have to think about that.
and so as that third generation has lost the entrepreneurship, they lose some of the risk factor. And then that community loses that creativity. The community loses that. So then you become not an entrepreneur, you become a maintainer. There's a difference between an entrepreneur that is building and taking risks and a maintainer that is just trying to maintain the business. And if you're not growing, if you're not changing, then you're going in the opposite way in business these days. And so creating that entrepreneurship environment in your community, helping people take that risk, but giving them a support network is extremely important on building back that creativity. So that's how your community was made. That's the culture of your community. But we have gotten away in some of our communities away from that culture, and we need to readdress that culture to build up the entrepreneurial culture again to where our towns are creative and they take some controlled risk. And our community leaders are supporting that as we look at, because a lot of community leaders look at the budgets, they look at what's going on, and they say, "Oh, we can't do that. That's too big of a risk. We're playing with that money." And yeah, it's taxpayer money, but there's got to be some type of risk that you can take to grow, because if you just maintain, you're not going to grow. And some communities in some areas of this country have not grown for more than 100 years.
Where we live, for example.
And that is a leaky bucket. All right. There's holes in that bucket. You put it in, but they all leak out, and it's leaking out faster than you're putting it in. And so how do you plug those leaks?
And that's one of the things that we'll be talking about during Entrepreneurship Month is vision, both for your business, for your relationships, for your community. The importance of a vision cannot be understated, so that people are working together to be able to bring about some sort of a change, a solution. And that's one of the things that we will be talking about later this month in Entrepreneurship Month. But for now,
come back tomorrow,
yes,
because tomorrow starts at the interview time. We are once a week, we are going to invite Don Mackey in. Don's going to be our special guest. Don's a team member of ours and part of our Rural Community Solutions team. And a great economist. He knows the data. He's been working in rural America for more than 40 years. And Don and I have worked together for many, many years. And we're going to be talking to Don in 4 different week successions here. The first week, tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the post-pandemic development opportunities. What are some of those development opportunities that you can look at as in rural communities through entrepreneurship? And then the next week, we will talk about why entrepreneurship. Why is that important for your rural community? Why is that important for rural America to build back up? Following that week, then the third week, we will be talking about growing entrepreneurial ecosystems. Talking about why entrepreneurship one week, and then how to grow that ecosystem that supports those entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial economy within your community. And then we will wrap up Entrepreneurship Month with the working with your community entrepreneurs as Don wraps up his series the last 4 weeks. So going from how do we address the pandemic into that opportunity to why entrepreneurs, how to support them, and then how to work with them, we will then build the case for why rural America needs entrepreneurs and why you need to become an entrepreneur to develop your passion.
So we're very excited, so grateful that Don is going to be in the house. For those of you who have followed us, Thursday has been our interview day for these 5 weeks. And we are shaking that up a little bit with Don because of his schedule. So this week is on the 2nd is a Wednesday. Then we'll have 2 Thursdays on the 10th and the 17th. And then the 23rd is a Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday. That's when you'll be able to catch Don Mackey. And of course, those other 4 days, we have wonderful content to share with you as well about entrepreneurship and all the opportunities you can create.
And so as we leave you today, I just want to leave you with these final thoughts here as a community or even as an individual, but you want to value others. Value others, find out what their interests are, what their needs and what their desires are. And then how can you be more generous towards them? Regardless whether you think they deserve it or not, how can you step forward and value what they do? Okay. And then find your passion. Find your passion, value others, build yourself up, be creative, because it's not work if you're passionate about it. I'm Frank Spillers.
And I'm Kim Spillers.
This has been Rural Community Solutions TV. And on behalf of all 3 of us, CC included, we hope you enjoyed it. We really appreciate you coming every day. We're here Monday through Friday at 11:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time right here. Come on back tomorrow and we will continue Entrepreneurship Month with our interview with Mr. Don Mackey. Thank you all.
Thank
See
you. If you have any topics, be sure and send them to us at Kim at G Horizons or
Frank at GHorizons.com.
We'd love to hear from you.
Bye-bye.